Hi everyone, welcome to our first Wednesday webinar about foundation maps. Just a quick note that we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so if you all are calling in on the phone, if you could mute yourselves, that would be great. We usually can mute you, but for some reason we can't. And with that, I'm going to let Jake take it away.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. We've got a few new improvements in addition to foundation maps that we wanted to share with y'all, and I'll run through a demo of those things, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's coming soon, and then we'll take some questions from folks on the line. The main gist of what we've got this month is that we've got some new data in foundation maps, and we're pretty excited about it. What kind of new data? Well, we now have a lot more international foundations, foundations located outside the United States. A lot of them are operating foundations, and we'll do the demo and we'll take a look at that. Another couple of things we've got are new transaction types. We've had them in our database for a while, but they were kind of hard to kind of flesh out for a couple of reasons, but now we've got them in foundation maps. They are foundation administered programs, also called FAPs, I guess that's the acronym, and PRIs, or program-related investments. So foundation administered programs, I'm sure half people on the phone are way more expert in foundation administered programs than I am, but essentially they are programs that a foundation is running themselves. And so we've got some what look like transactions, but in this case it's money that they've allocated for a certain program. And then program-related investments are kind of like loans given from foundations to nonprofits. It's a different kind of tax category, and we've got a lot of PRIs in the database. And then there's a couple of changes to the charts that are kind of cool. It was kind of a frequently requested feature that we did, and so I'll go ahead and show you guys what those things look like. So I'm going to get out of PowerPoint, go into Foundation Maps. So the first thing you'll notice when you log into Foundation Maps is that the pop-up screen when you first log in is going to be different than it was before. It's basically going to describe the very things that I'm talking about now. Oh, there's another one too. We'll do the eGrant. We'll talk about eGrant icon in a second also. So this is about the increase in the number of foundations, some of the enhanced charts, and the new eGrant icon. It does not mention FAPs and PRIs because that was actually just added yesterday, so it's hot off the presses. The overall number of grants has increased by a few thousand to incorporate including the foundation programs and PRIs. The best way to find these non-U.S. foundations that are added is if we actually click from Show Grants By, and right now the orange bubbles are recipients. This is the default view when you log into Foundation Maps. However, if you go to Foundations, you see these kind of teal bubbles, and then you'll see actually there's 58,000 funders. So let's go look at one of them. Let's go load to Nigeria. And say here we have Foundations. Now we see we got foundations that have these grant transactions, and these are the ones we actually had in there before. But if we actually sort by dollar amount and get where it says NA, means non-applicable, so the Adolescent Health and Information Project here, and basically these are lots of non-U.S. foundations that typically are going to be either operating foundations or they're foundations that give grants but for which we don't have any grants yet in the database. And often we'll have like an address, we'll have a mission statement. So this is the purpose of the foundation is to promote education and health care for the community, including young people and women within Kano, Nigeria. And they're established back in 1989. And this is relatively sparse information. Grants, we don't have any grants yet, and subjects is basically the same. And in some cases we do have a URL for the foundation. Let's go click out of here and let's go look at China. This is the one that has the largest increase in number of foundations. There are 932 funders in here, but a lot of the foundations we don't have a lot of grants for. So we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Chinese foundations that have we've got grants for. That means there's around 920 something foundations that are here that are listed. Let's go look at Youth Development Foundation. A lot of these we got from our partnership with the China Foundation Center, with whom we do data exchanges. The purpose of the foundation is to promote education and youth within China. So this is actually something that we don't have a lot of grant transactions for these. It fills out a lot of these bubbles around the world. Let's go look at Brazil. So if we type in Brazil here, we could have just clicked on the Brazil button, but I wanted to kind of click in here and let's go and see what's going on over here in Rio. In fact, maybe we can go look at Rio. Here's Rio de Janeiro. We're going to look in here. There's going to be a few bubbles over here. We can click on, we can go all the way down to the street corner level and see, who is this foundation that's located here next to this looks like Woodland Park. You can click on this. Again, there's no grants associated with Zone Global. My Portuguese is terrible, so I won't try to pronounce it or butcher that. The purpose of the foundation is to promote nonprofit management, media communication, etc. So this is something that we knew that people wanted to see because the question comes up, like how many Brazilian foundations do you have in the database? Before, what we were doing is only showing the foundations for which we had grants that we could attribute. Now we're saying...
Habitat, this is Kathy.
Oh, wait, I'm on a conference call. That's okay.
Hi, sorry. And because we... if y'all could mute phones on that side because we are having that technical difficulty with... we weren't able to just automatically mute all people listening. One more, let's look at some of the other new data sets we've got available. Under more filters, this is an area that not a lot of folks, there's a lot of features in here that folks probably might not know about. Under transaction type, if we scroll into transaction type, and let's look, there's a couple of different things here. Foundation administered programs. So I'm going to click on this. And let's go look at, now we've got 2,415 FATs. And so you can see Foundation Administered Programs is selected here under your selections. So let's go look over here and look in Kenya. Looks like we've got one FAT. This is HEVOS. Building capacities, linking, and learning opportunities for HEVOS AIDS partners. This is from 2009, $35,000. And here we can see that's HIV and AIDS. It has all the same information that we have for a normal, what we call a cash grant, or a normal, what we all perceive as a grant. But this is a Foundation Administered Program, and here you can see you've got a description. So FAPs are, there's a few other ones, and this is often, it's really good when we get FAP data, because there's a lot of the grant making outside the United States is essentially in FAP format. So I'm going to go look at one of the other transaction types, which is program-related investments and loans. These are PRIs. And let's get rid of FAPs. And this is one that I saw the other day. I was like, what is this bubble down here? Click on them. And this says, this is from the Gates Foundation to ASA International Holding, $10 million and $5 million instead of the $10 million one. And this is microfinance. This is a program, so this was a program-related investment to scale up a microfinance model to reach and positively impact millions of the poor in Africa and Asia. So this PRI is an example, and we've got several thousand of them. Let's close out of this. We got 2,263 of them. If we look at the list, we can see that through the number of FAPs. PRIs. We've got the AVI Child Foundation, Building Hope, Packard. So if you look at Packard here, you can see, again, these grants, maybe we should put transactions on here. These PRIs, Packard, let's see if we can get a really recent one. We'll sort that. So 2013, Western Rivers Conservancy for $4.9 million. This is a PRI to ensure the Western Rivers Conservancy is able to proceed with its purchase of acreage. So this kind of helps round out a lot of the picture of foundation activities around the world, and it's been something that's been requested by lots of users. Now let's go to the charts. The line charts for showing trends over time is the same as it was before. Let's do a case where, let's choose a location. Let's choose Texas. And let's say, okay, I want to look at health funding in Texas, and let's add a few more. I want to look at education funding in Texas, and science. I'm just going to add a couple more, and let's pick another arts one, music. Okay. Now, maybe a random selection, but let's just say the line charts are the same. You can see how education and health are pretty high up there as far as number of grants and dollar value of grants, and science and music are a lot lower. But if we scroll to the bottom, this is what the new feature is. We used to combine the dollar value and the number of grants together when we're aggregating them, and now they've been split out into two columns. So in the left column, we've got the dollar volume of the grants. So you can see here that education outpaces health by a bit, and they both are a lot more in dollars than the science funding, and music is even smaller. And you can see that the number of grants actually kind of reflects that. So the average grant size is basically, it's not like a couple of giant grants that made this, that threw off this basic scale. But then if you're interested in any of these, you can just click on the bar or on the number. So here we got $447 million for science funding to recipients in Texas. You can click on that and then go ahead and get the data that way. This is something that we've heard from customers that people said, oh, I wish that we could see just the dollars or just the number of grants. And I think the charts before were a little bit confusing to look at. So I think this will hopefully simplify some things. So, let's go one more in the clear all. Go to the list. Let's look at the dollar value of grants. Let's go to Gates. Let's look at the grant. Here's a new feature that we're pretty excited about. It's not really a feature, it's more about something we can kind of, we're just excited about it generally because it's a new way of highlighting something that's very important to us here. This grant was e-reported to us, so we call this an e-grant, so it's electronically submitted to us. About half the data that we have on Foundation Maps and in our other products comes from tax forms or other ways we can get the data from freely available sources. However, the way to get the freshest data possible is to be able to get stuff via e-reporting. So that, maybe I'll get a more recent one so that we can kind of demonstrate what I mean by that. So sometimes, like right now, we're still processing grants from 2013 to 2014. But for instance, this Gates grant, Gates Stanford, $50 million, this is an e-grant. It means the 2015, obviously 2015 is not over yet, so there's no tax file for which we can actually extract the data. We rely, there's about 1,000 foundations who directly submit their grant information to us, and then we put it into our databases. And so we highlight it wherever possible and say, hey, this is an e-grant. A lot of cases, foundations who submit their data to us electronically, they might also code their data into the subjects, and typically they also give us really good descriptions of the grant because they realize it's going to end up in the product, versus foundations who only put their data in a 990 form or their tax form, in which case it's not obvious that that data is going to end up in some kind of platform somewhere. So we're very excited to have all these e-reporters. And if you click on the e-grant icon here, I'm going to open a link in a new tab. It's going to bring you over to our electronic reporting program page, which describes what it's all about and what it was like and the benefits of becoming an e-reporter. So if any of you are curious about the e-reporter program, just find a big grant, see a recent grant, and click on this, on the e-grant icon, and you'll be able to get all the information about that. So before I go on and talk about the exciting stuff that's coming down the pike in the next couple of months, I want to take a moment here to see if anybody has any questions that could answer about any of this stuff. Again, the topics, international foundations, foundation-administered programs, program-related investments, or any of the changes to charts or e-reporting. And I guess because we don't have, Aaron, do you know if there are any questions?
Oh, yeah, there's already a question about, of the 68,000 foundations you have in the system, about how many have info attached and aren't not applicable. They actually have grants.
They actually have grants. Okay, that's a good question. Right now, the easiest way to look at that is we have 37,000, 37,737 funders for whom we have grant data. if we click the foundations layer, we've got 58,000. So basically, we've got grant data for 38,000 roughly, and we just have basic profiles for another 20,000. And those 20,000 are primarily outside the United States. Very soon, I don't even think I put this in the coming soon section. It was even more exciting than anything we have. We're going to be getting all the data from all U.S. foundations. Right now, there are something like 87,000 foundations in the United States that are currently operating. And we'll be able to process all of the data from all of those foundations. So you'll actually see this number go from 58 to something like 120 or 130,000 funders by the end of the year. So the brief answer again to that is we've got grant data right now on 38,000 foundations and international profiles for 20,000 other foundations. But very soon, I say in the next 6 weeks, possibly between 6 weeks and the end of the year, we're going to have some grant data for almost all foundations in the United States.
The charts show a breakdown by subject. Can it show a breakdown by country or population group?
The short answer to that is that it does not as of right now. So again, let's say that I'm choosing subject is health and do education again. Right now, this chart is showing this breakdown by subject. I chose 2 subjects, but what if I chose, we're looking at the world. On the map, right now what we're seeing is a bunch of bubbles. Let's go look at the recipients. Each bubble represents a country. So we've got lots of data, on these countries, but this is a map format. I guess the question is, will we ever have these in a chart format? It's been requested by a lot of folks. Like right now, basically you say grant by subject. What we're thinking is you have something over here, you can also choose, show me the breakdown by country, or if you're in the United States or any country, show me the breakdown by province, so you can actually get a ranked list, which some folks is really the thing they need is say, show me the top, grossing country or the top county in New York or something like that. So that, I believe it's coming soon. Hopefully it's an improvement in a few months.
Great. I think that's all we have for now.
Great. Let me talk quickly about some of the exciting stuff that's coming soon. So in my mind,
I think it's fine.
Some of these changes are relatively minor, but useful. There's a couple of things that are coming soon that I think are going to really be big leaps forward for Foundation Maps and just for the Foundation Center generally. Right now, when we look at an individual grant record, what we're seeing is the primary subject of that grant. So let's go look at this grant. This one's pretty easy to say. This is communicable disease control. However, in our database, there are actually more subjects for a grant. Sometimes it could be about art and music, or sorry, art and education, or it's about health and education. So we're going to be expanding the way that you can filter it, so you're going to get more grants for any given subject. The one I'm personally most excited about is Interpretive Search. This is what we're calling Interpretive Search. Basically, here's the idea. Did I do this? Imagine you put in some text, and the text says, this is your project description, for its efforts to provide access to safe water and sanitation for 180,000 people in Bangladesh. The grant will help fund 2 water.org programs, et cetera, et cetera. Just put in a description or a news article, or just saying I'm looking for grants, or I'm looking for partners to help me with, with a primary or elementary school education program. Well, what it would do is actually take the text that you're putting in, then it would actually put it into what is in our taxonomy, in our language, water access, hygiene, low income and poor people in Bangladesh, and then actually render the map in those categories. So you have WASH as the subject, Bangladesh as the geographic area served, and low income and poor people as the population group, and then render you the map. This basically would mean that you wouldn't necessarily have to fuss as much with all the different toggles. This is coming very soon, and we're, everybody's really, really excited about it. Another one that is also coming by the end of the year is, right now you can map it in lots of different ways by city. You can zoom all the way into a street corner. You can look at it by country, by province, by county. But what we're also going to have is zip codes and congressional districts in the United States. That's because we've gotten a lot of requests for people, a lot of place-based foundations are working in very localized areas. You know, they might be looking at a certain zip code, or they want to go to a congressman and say, hey, you know, you're the congressman that works in this district. Here's all the nonprofits that were working on education in your district. And we think that that's going to be really one of the great use of this kind of visualization. You export a PDF of, you know, Congressional District 101 in Alabama, and you bring it to that representative or any other kind of legislator. So those are things that they're coming soon. So stay tuned. Hopefully, future First Wednesdays, we will we'll have some of those things to show you. Does anybody have any questions? I guess not. So thank you guys. And Aaron, do you have any other?
Yes, we have one more question.
Great.
Are there any plans to improve the data download tool? Currently, we need to download in batches of 20 or so.
Yeah, this has come up before. The question really is, let's say we're here, and you've logged in, and you click you want a CSV of it, and you click this, and then you're going to end up getting a spreadsheet that's going to have basically these grants on it, maybe a few more. What we used to be kind of in the data, you know, selling, you know, wholesale data in big chunks. I think we might expand it to include some more grants. I think one of the things that we need to make right now, there's like for this query, there's 1.2 million grants in the set. So if you're interested, anybody's interested in figuring out how to get more grants at a time downloaded, just let us know. Email me at maps@foundationcenter.org, and we'll help you figure out what it is that what kind of data queries that you want to run, and we'll figure out ways to get you that data.
Great. One more question. We recently released Foundation Maps for early childhood development in East Africa. The question is Foundation Center coming out with more of these for specific program areas or geographies, and how are we deciding what areas to map?
Well, you know, I should have included that in today's First Wednesday. One good example of another one, there was the early childhood in East Africa map recently. Here's another one. This is, you can go to democracy.foundationcenter.org. This is now live. This is an example of another custom version of Foundation Maps. In this case, it is just about democracy funding in the United States. So we can see here's the charts that are side by side, and this version looks a little different. The colors are different. The subjects, you know, you're not going to see health and education in here. Instead, you're going to see a custom taxonomy, so we can look at redistricting. Then we go to the map, and you'll see slightly different colored bubbles, but we can see here's where the redistricting dollars are going. Foundation Maps as a platform is highly customizable. And one of the things that we've been working on with foundations and groups of foundations, in this case, this is a group of foundations that we worked with to put this together. We put them together so that groups of foundations can discuss publicly about the kinds of things that are happening in the landscape of democracy funding. There's other ones that we're working on related to education, water, sanitation, and hygiene, media funding in America. There's a bunch more, and there's a bunch more that are coming all the time. But this reminds me that we need to make sure that we discuss this with all the webinar participants and customers, generally speaking, because there are lots of these, and a lot of them are free to the public and are pretty cool to explore.
Great. Yep, and I think that sort of answered the next question, which was, are these custom versions publicly available or only to subscribers or requesters of the project?
They are available to the public. I think 90% of them, 95% of them are available to the public. And usually it's a subset of the overall data. So in this case, you know, this is 18,000 grants out of 3.7 million grants. So usually it's a subset around that size. In some cases, there are privately held ones, maybe because it's about a sensitive topic, about human rights funding, you know, in Egypt or, you know, outside the United States. But in many cases, like the upcoming media map and the United States, you know, this democracy one, and the early childhood in Africa map, and a bunch of other ones are definitely publicly available. And it's a way for us to show the general public and people who are interested in certain topics, the value of the data.
And how do we decide what areas will be turned into these custom publicly available maps?
It usually depends on, a foundation asking us, and usually it's in the form of a grant or a project or contract or group of foundations asking that. We're more than willing to talk to whoever wants to ask questions about, a specific case in mind. I talked to a foundation this morning who was like, they wanted to show to their board the distribution of healthy eating options in a certain city in the United States, and wanted to show where their grantees were. And so in some cases it's just for their own analysis, and then sometimes it's for the board, or sometimes it's for showing publicly the activities that they're doing. It depends on the case, but usually we make them where there's demand. We rarely make them because we dream them up, although we could dream them up, but usually it's by request.
Great. And maybe we'll just wait a couple more minutes to see if any other questions come in. There is one more question. Is there a link or list available of these public projects on Foundation Maps?
Yes.
Yeah, so we actually have a website. It's actually on our Foundation Center website. So if you just go to foundationcenter.org/knowledge services, this is actually a bunch of knowledge services that we do for funders, and we have a whole list of the kinds of Foundation Map projects that we've done. So if you just click on View Project List, you'll see a whole list of all the different maps, and some of them are accessible because they're public, and some of them, like Jake said, are just behind a firewall or private for a certain foundation.
And this also, so if you click on maps here, you'll see a list of the actual foundation maps, and some of the custom options, enhanced versions, and things like that. But you can also see some of the other custom kinds of activities that we do. There's also, things related to case studies and evaluations, there's big landscapes, benchmarkers, and there's examples of these kinds of things all over the place. I'm a geographer, so personally, I like seeing maps, but that's not everybody's favorite way. Sometimes you need just straight up data in tables, and you want to see top funders and things like that. So there's a wide range of that, and so for the folks who signed up for the webinar, we'll send out this link to you guys after this webinar.
Great.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Feel free to email us at maps@foundationcenter.org. Thanks for signing up for the webinar, and we'll see you next month at the next first Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.